Welcome back to Sex and Whiskey, a Gay Crashers podcast. In our series, hosts Nikki and RJ will sip on a dram of the good stuff while discussing the more exciting stuff. We will take you on a journey, exploring whiskeys from around the world, while also educating you on the birds and the bees, especially correcting what school or your parents missed on. Our goal is to promote a safe and fun environment that will leave you empowered and educated on your next bedroom adventure. So sit back, pour a drink, and get ready for Sex and Whiskey. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 5 of Sex and Whiskey. This is a big episode, a lot of fun things happening. I am one of your co-hosts, RJ. I use the pronouns he, him, and I have been a registered nurse for quite some time now. And join me, as always, is the lovely...
Hi, I'm Nikki, pronouns she, they, and I am a sex health and wellness coach. I do sex stuff in the community. It's like we don't need my resume. I'm really excited about the other person here.
Yes, we have a guest joining us today. Can I introduce the incomparable Elle Daniel? Elle, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on Sex and Whiskey today.
So you are Elle Daniel, correct?
Oh yeah, I'm Elle Daniel. My pronouns are she, her, and I used to be on teen council for Planned Parenthood.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. We are very thankful to have our first guest. I know I had to say that loud, so hopefully no one had that too loud in their car. But we are going to start right off as we always do. If this is your first time to the show, we do 3 flights of whiskey, and in between we talk about very important topics today in the world of sex education. So starting, I think I'll go. I think I'll take the first flight. In these beautiful Sex and Whiskey flasks. Yes, amazing. My wonderful co-host sent this to me, which was it's always nice getting mail, especially like a package like this, and you open it up and there's a flask in it. It was empty, which is disappointing, but still we're gonna get past that. So today,
I'm not going to commit an illegal act. Okay, I can't do that. Don't do anything illegal ever.
I'm gonna save that soundbite for like...
Oh, you're going to need it. Yeah.
No.
That's going to get used against me at some time.
I'm not going to do anything illegal, but all right. So yeah, I had a tough time thinking about what whiskey I wanted to drink today. I actually picked the same whiskey for all 3 flights, simply because there was literally 3 pours left of it, and I didn't feel like breaking open a new bottle. I'm just going to be honest with you there. So today's drink is Jim Beam Honey, because I think this is going to be just the sweetest episode out there. So,
oh wow,
okay. Good Lord, RJ, that is
okay.
All right, yeah, just drink.
As a normal person would do, I'm just pouring the drink into a shot glass because that's what you would do in this situation. So Jim Beam Honey tastes like honey. It's got the aroma of sweetness, and it probably finishes strong. Phrasing.
Oh, just down the hatch.
It well, it's very good. It has no right being as good as it is. It's $30. Go buy it. It's delicious. Nikki, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I actually put some thought into my whiskey, but whatever. That's fine. You know what? That's fine. I get it. So honestly, I chose this whiskey. It's by Walsh. It's called Writer's Tears, and I've had a Writer's Tears on the show before, but that was the double oak, and this is the copper pot. And I went with Writer's Tears because we all write stuff and do things for gate crashers, and I just thought I would celebrate that.
So wait, I got shit for drinking the Jim Beam Honey.
This is a different one. No, this is
the same brand whiskey.
No. Okay. I've done this with
purpose
with Bardstown.
Purpose.
Yeah, no, I did it. I just found this one because I can't find the one I normally get, that other Writer's Tears.
Oh fuck! So I just remembered I drank 3 different labels of Johnny Walker for one episode.
Yeah, you really need to stop
doing
that shit,
God.
dude. Like, just stop it. Just
rescind.
It's not gonna age well.
Can I mute you?
Okay. The whiskey will age well. The comments will not.
Do you hear our guest shit talking already?
I love it. This is great. I'm so happy to have you.
We're very happy to have you.
But so it's called Copper Pot. This has won multiple awards. It's a blended Irish whiskey. It's anywhere from $30 to $50. Apparently everything where I live is like $20 more than other places, which is bullshit, but that's fine. No, it's not. And it reminds me of drinking caramel apples and whatever. I want to get on to I just need to drink and stop talking now.
So
Next.
we both got sweet. We both did sweet today.
Oh, I almost choked on that.
Yeah, it is number 2.
That's for the kink episode.
That is
We
for the
can't talk about this here.
I know. No, sorry. We're not talking about choking. Not today.
Not today.
Not yet.
Not today,
anyway.
Jesus. Okay. Ellie,
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry.
both
Go
got
ahead.
sweet.
We're here.
I also have a sweet whiskey today, though it's been a minute since I've tried it. I normally like mix things with my whiskey. I don't typically drink whiskey straight. But this is Early Times Old Style by Bottled in Bond. On the jar, I don't know much about whiskey, so this is just me bullshitting for like a second or two. The bottle said 100% proof. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what that means, but we're gonna drink it and enjoy it. And the general price you can get it at is $25. I haven't had it for a minute, and I'm probably gonna make a face, so I'm apologizing in advance. I think of this.
So Ellie is drinking 100 proof, which is 50% alcohol by volume. So that should smack her right in the face right now. She did a very brave face, though.
That
You did
was
a
like
great
a
job.
very this great face.
It's really smooth. It is not like usually whiskey makes me shiver, but that goes down really, really nicely. Very sweet. It almost has a little bit of a shortbread flavor to it. I dig this. Okay, that's good. Ooh, my mouth is warm. All right. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. There's just so many clips I want to just splice.
I know,
and
we're
just
like
save for later. I'm gonna have a soundboard later on and just throw words out there. So Ellie is our guest today for a very special reason, because our first flight is going to jump right into her time spent working with Planned Parenthood. So please enlighten us about your journey.
Yeah. So my time with Planned Parenthood started when I was in high school, specifically my junior year, and it lasted until my senior year when I graduated. I was a part of a group called Teen Council. It was a program that Planned Parenthood still has, just not quite as much anymore. And what Teen Council was a peer-led sex education group. And so teens would learn about sex ed, and then they would go to their classrooms at school and they would teach their fellow students and classmates about sex education. Yeah, and I did it for 2 years and I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
So you were a teen yourself, teaching other teens about their bodies, about sex. I'm sure that must have been very difficult at times, obviously. I'm sure also rewarding. But my question to you is, kind of how did you navigate? Because I'm assuming you went to different schools. So how did you kind of navigate where there was maybe educational limitations at one school versus another school? Like kind of how did you work around where maybe one school was more pro sex education and one was maybe not so much into the whole sex education bit?
Yeah, that was definitely something that we had to deal with a lot. And it was very much a school by school basis. Kind of in the town where I was teaching, there's like 3 big high schools, and those were the 3 that we taught at. And each one kind of had its own levels of comfort and what we could say in front of the students. The school I went to at the time was very open. You just had to check with the teacher of like, hey, can I show a condom in class? Can I do a condom demonstration, which was putting a condom on a like fake wooden phallus for the students to see. And some teachers would be totally fine with that, and some would not let us do that. There was one school that definitely they were very restrictive in what we could teach. Our 3 main topics, of course, were consent, contraception or birth control, and then STDs/STI awareness, because at the time that term was kind of changing.
Mhm.
And you could sometimes it was very frustrating to not be able to kind of give the students all the information that we had. And you could tell because the questions we would get, like we would get more questions that were maybe uninformed, use different language versus like other schools that had more open education, and we would actually get like less questions because people kind of already knew what they were doing, or they knew a little bit more about sex ed in the past. So definitely a teacher by teacher basis with that one.
Now, I guess my question for uninformed, like when you say someone was uninformed, were the questions that they were asking more about, you know, the basics of actual sex itself, or more so the kind of safety involved in sex? Like, was it more like condom and birth control questions, or was it actively having intercourse, like type of questions? Like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around like discrepancies there.
Oh yeah, I think it was definitely more of like kind of the basics.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I mean, at that school in particular, we had so many questions about condoms and like, where do I keep my condoms? Can I freeze my condoms? Can I keep them in my car?
The poor woman
Yeah,
who had to
it
interact with
was
a frozen
Like,
condom.
who told that person to freeze it? And then I'm like really worried that they tried it.
How did the
yeah,
dick stay
that
hard
was,
after they unraveled the
I don't
frozen
know.
like how?
I don't know.
These are
Like
questions for
I
another
have
time.
questions for them.
Yeah.
Like
That's the kink.
honestly, when
That's
they
part
ask
of the
that, I'm
kink
like,
episode,
no,
actually.
no, I
Yeah,
need to
it's
talk to you. You need to tell me what's going on here. Yeah, we definitely keeping condoms in the fridge was like the number one question we got at that school. And everyone was wondering, like, who is telling these kids to put condoms in their fridge? Please don't do that. Like, don't put them in the fridge, don't put them in a hot car. Like, oh, it was, yeah, definitely an interesting experience. But that was the general, like those questions were typically more like condom based and basics based. It was not quite as much like I'm having sex, I have these questions about it
Mm-hmm.
type.
Now, Nikki, if I'm hogging all the questions, I'm sorry. You can jump right in whenever you want. I thank you. She's being wonderful and letting me ask stuff. I just want to be knowledgeable. That's all this is. So we obviously before we do episodes, we kind of chat beforehand and kind of get some sort of knowledge base about our guests. And Elliot brought up abstinence as part of the program lead. Now, how important, like, where was that in the structure of the actual education that Planned Parenthood was trying to put out there? Like, was abstinence still like the number, like, abstinence is the best and then kind of work your way down? I mean, best is probably not the greatest way to phrase it, but abstinence is, you know, step number one. And then if
Oh,
not,
yeah, for sure. That was definitely we had these little like speeches, and they were kind of like a checklist of like, here's what we're going to talk about. And kind of like if I needed to glance at like our elevator speech, I could look at that here. And in here it says like discuss abstinence first. It was kind of the thing that, like, especially when we talked about contraception, it was like the first thing we had to say and kind of get out of the way of like, hey, abstinence technically is the only way to like 100% prevent pregnancies and unwanted STIs. And then we would move on and be like, that said, like at the current time, the statistics were like 50% of students were sexually active. At the time, that was the statistic. And we would tell them that, and we would say, so we're going to talk about birth control. So just in case, you know, maybe you're not having sex, but your friend might be, and you might need this information for them. But abstinence was like, yep, we had to plug that first, and then we could move on, because that was definitely the time where like abstinence was the sex education that you got. It was like, don't do it, just don't have sex, like you'll be fine, it's great.
now, actually, this is an unprepared question for you, because I just thought of it. In your own realm, okay, in your own personal relationship life,
Yeah.
after going to these schools and being like, wow, a lot of uneducated people about sex and wellness, like, should I be diving into the gene pool in this area? Like, should I be visiting this dating pool? Like, this is kind of where frozen condom McGee over here.
Frozen God.
Like, what
Cold
was your
Dick
take home?
Dylan.
Like, what was your take home?
Yeah, I mean, definitely like it informed me a little bit. It changed the way I could communicate with my friends and my peers about sex for sure. Because I do remember like in my middle school years, we signed an abstinence pledge, which just is just weird to me personally, because I'm like, okay, I'm 12.
Yeah.
You know, like, but yeah, like it did definitely change the way I talked about sex and kind of viewed sex with my friends, because my friends were just kind of whatever they were getting from their teachers, whereas I was getting a very like comprehensive sex education because I had to teach it, I had to know. But then I had friends who would like just come like into lunch and they would tell me the most heinous shit, and I'd be like, no. Stop. Like, you know, like, oh, I missed my birth control yesterday, so I took like 3 to make up for it. And I was like, stop it, stop.
No.
And don't put your condoms in the fridge. Like, enough.
I
That
think
might
that's
be
a-
that might be a merch item for us.
I know.
That might
I'm like, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like,
Please.
maybe it's like a condom case that says "Don't put this in the fridge"
Yeah.
either. Like,
Warning.
I
do
want
not
to maybe I
freeze.
might Google after this and see if like it's a region specific thing. Like, is
It
there just a
might
bump
be.
of Google searches in that area of just like,
It-
how long can I keep my condom in the
Put it in the
fridge?
fridge. We definitely noticed too, I mean, because we were considered presenters in the health classes, and there were other presenters as well. And we would, you know, we got that school that had the like condom fridge questions also had a presenter come in and do the demonstration where she put a piece of tape on your arm and she put it on the arms of like 6 boys, and then she'd be like, she'd show the girls and be like, this is you if you have sex before marriage. Like, you don't stick anymore. Like, no one will want to marry you if you have sex. That was legitimately like a presentation that came to that school. And then teen council would roll in and be like, all right, here's how to put a condom on, here's how to protect yourself from STIs. And so we would basically just come in and like debunk all of those theories that were thrown out there. It was, I feel bad for those students. I think it was definitely a whiplash of
I
like,
want
whoa.
to fight somebody.
I'm
Literally,
still
I'm
reeling by
like,
the tape on the arm thing.
I'm like,
it
so
was
like, I'm like,
wild.
I mean, that's like this purity culture thing, and
For sure.
that's part of the world we live in. And so the fact that you were able to go in though and just be like, okay, no,
No.
like,
yeah.
that's amazing. And to do that like as a teenager with your time, your free time as a
Oh, thank
teenager,
you.
I want to ask actually, what attracted you to the program, and what was the thing that you were like, yes, let's go, let's
Yeah.
do this?
Kind of twofold like kind of attraction to it was we call him our facilitator, who ran teen council, and he educated us and made sure we were all doing all right. He came in on his own one week to talk and give a presentation, and at the end he plugged teen council and was like, hey, if you are interested in teaching this stuff, if you're passionate about sex education, come in, apply, join the program. It's really fun. We meet weekly. And I had actually known him before, like personally. He used to be a dance teacher for me, and so I was like, oh, I know that person. And I was just kind of, my interest was piqued. I think another part of that was I've always had a very open household. Like, my parents have always been really like, if you have questions, come ask, we'll tell you. Like, you know, they gave me like the joy of sex when I was in high school. They're like, here's what everything is, like, read through this. If you have questions, don't even worry about it, come to us. And so I was already a little bit more open and receptive to sex education, and I saw that, and I didn't really have any volunteer hours that I kind of wanted to get out and do things. And for some reason I was just like, oh, I have to do this. And that's why I went and signed up. Yeah, for sure.
Shout out to mom and dad on that one. That's
Yeah.
real MVPs right there.
Yeah.
Like
My mom and dad
cheers to
rock.
them. Do y'all have, no, you
Yeah.
drink your shot
Yeah.
already, RJ,
I
but
still have some.
I
could
have like a
probably,
little sip.
this
We can
fills
cheers.
4. This
We
fills
can
4
cheers.
shots.
Okay, well,
I
you
could probably
can like
take
use
enough.
that, but like
Just
cheers
take a little
to
drink.
yeah, just cheers to parents who
Yeah.
support
Cheers.
stuff like this and want to help.
Cheers to support parents. Cheers to my parents.
Yeah,
Mom.
cheers to your parents. Like,
My
thank
dad.
you.
Thank you. Shout out.
Hi,
Shout out
Mom.
right
Hi,
there.
Dad.
Hi.
This is definitely
he's like just laughing.
I'm sorry. This is.
I'm like, what is he about to say?
I'm rolling back on the masking tape bitch who, she probably got hit with the frozen D and she was just like, we're not going to let any more frozen wieners out there. We're going to stop it right now.
She liked it, and that was the problem.
That was the problem.
Yeah. No, we met weekly, and it was kids from all 3 schools. It wasn't just one in particular. And the one of the girls who was going to that school, the week that woman came in, that was the most raucous weekly meeting we've ever had. She dropped that bomb on us of you would not believe who came in this week, and it was we were not going to focus for the rest of that meeting. The whole rest of that meeting was just dedicated to just honestly roasting that woman, because we were teenagers and we were like, no, the tape has to go. Yeah.
Now, Ellie is actually going to do a little bit of a show and tell here. Do you have any of the items that you used as teaching tools or method? Do you have any flashcards you want to show off? Or
I'm so glad you asked. Well, yeah, first off, I have my my little speech curriculums. They're
for the visually impaired. She's holding 2 pamphlets.
Oh, yeah. I have 2. It's just a bunch of pieces of paper stapled together, and they have all this information on them about
Nikki. I'm not hearing a ooh.
Sorry.
About what we're talking about.
Well, I'm not going to do it now that he put me on the spot. And
I can do it.
Yeah, I know you can.
Guys,
ooh,
look.
yourself. There you go.
Look.
Rat mode activated.
Yeah.
RJ told me to do something. I'm like, no.
No. Yeah, and I did have we taught with flashcards. These were given to me by our facilitator after teen council was shut down, so that we could go teach other people. But we used these in class as well, and these are little green laminated flashcards that have all the steps of how to put a condom on.
Mm-hmm. Are they in order right now?
They're currently in order. Yes.
Can you read them?
Yeah.
Can you
I
read
absolutely can read them. Yeah. So the first step, the most important step in using a condom, and I'll die on this hill, is talk to your partners. Get consent. You gotta ask every time. Check in. The second step is to check the expiration date in the air pocket of the condom to make sure that it is still if there's no air in the condom, then maybe it's popped or it's expired. If it's expired, it could tear, and that could cause unwanted pregnancies or STIs. And then the third step is erection if you're putting the condom on a penis. The fourth step is leave room at the tip, squeeze out any air, and roll the condom on, because if there's air, it could pop. Then apply a water or silicone-based lubrication. This was a step that we really pushed, because if you use the wrong lube, of course, the condom could tear. Then intercourse, whether it's anal, oral, or vaginal. Hold on to the base of the condom and withdraw the penis. Oh wait, no, I missed a step. They are out of order. Oh no, ignore me. Okay. Okay. Orgasm.
Ellie, we're walking someone through here right now. He's listening.
Somebody is listening.
It's life or death. And if it's life or death for you, rewind a little bit. I'm so sorry. You have to ejaculate before you take the condom off. I would recommend that. Orgasm, in parentheses, ejaculation. I hate that word. Could never say that when we were teaching. Hold on to the base of the condom and withdraw the penis. Loss of erection, and then remove the condom and discard. And that is how you put on a condom.
Amazing. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Love
slightly
that.
out of order, but
we it's fine.
Those are the most interchangeable
Absolutely fine.
steps. I wouldn't don't even worry about it. I think. I don't know.
I'm glad that
It's been
was
a
the
while.
one.
Yeah.
It wasn't check the condom, ejaculation.
Out of all the ways it could be out of order. And sometimes people don't actually ejaculate, but
yeah, sometimes they don't. Yeah. But then to round it all out, when we did the condom presentation, we had, if I can show it, we had this wooden phallus that we put a condom on. I think we called them Woody. We weren't very original.
Ellie is currently holding a wooden rocket ship. For YouTube, that is a wooden rocket ship.
A wooden rocket ship. And we would put condoms on this in front of the class if they allowed us, which was not very often. But I thought important.
So do you where do you store that? Does it store it on your shelf? Because I just store the vulva is back here somewhere. I just keep.
Do you
I
do you
have-
get shouts from downstairs? The dick is down here.
Yeah,
It's
you
out.
left your dick down here again. Like, Ellie.
Did you like Elf on the Shelf with that?
Dick on the mantle.
I
Sorry.
leave it out when we were redoing the house. Is dick on a brick. I have a little teen council box that I actually keep it in. Oh, and look at that! It's a sticker that is backwards, but it says "Just wear it." Which I should actually put that on something. Yeah. I had this little handy Tupperware box that I keep all of my like teen council sex education stuff in, and it is ironically full of expired condoms. So yeah, I need to change those out
Keeping it safe. Keeping it
Oh,
safe
yeah.
over there.
every time.
Now, so I one point I did want to talk about. So how did teen council end? What had happened, just to kind of enlighten our listeners out there?
Yeah, so teen council ended in 2017, the year I graduated. What happened was in 2016, a president was elected, and there was a lot of fear that Planned Parenthood was going to be defunded because the kind of majority in the government had shifted to views that did not like Planned Parenthood very much. And everyone was worried that we were going to lose funding. And to kind of protect themselves, unfortunately, Planned Parenthood made the smart decision to consolidate all of their funding towards their reproductive services, their STI testing services, their cancer screening services, just to make sure that if they were defunded, they could still continue to provide those services. So it was a very smart choice, and a choice that unfortunately had to be made. But that did mean that the Teen Council program lost our funding, and our branch was cut. It was one of the cuts. I think there's about, I think when I checked the website, it said about 10 teen councils left. I think there's one in like Alaska and Hawaii, a couple of other states. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of teen councils were cut that year, ours included, which was a big bummer for everybody. I was graduating and like kind of aging out of the program, but for the people behind me, we were all pretty devastated by it, for sure.
Is there one moment that you could kind of pick out of your time on teen council, whether it be funny, uplifting, just like something that you think about on a day-to-day and you're like, yeah, that happened, I remember that happened, that definitely happened, that you could share with us?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because that's what I want to know.
There are so many. Oh man.
You can give us a couple. Give us a couple. Give us a couple.
The shortest one is I missed a meeting because it was my birthday, and my parents wanted to take me out to dinner. And for like backstory, my all-time favorite fun fact, and my favorite fun fact when we were teaching, is that you can get gonorrhea in your throat. I love to tell people that. I told every class that when we went to, even if it wasn't STI week, I'd be like, fun fact, gonorrhea, it can happen up here. And I got this video midway through dinner from all of my teen council classmates, and they were like, hey, did you know you can get gonorrhea in your throat? And then they all yelled, happy birthday. And I still have that video now because it was so oh my god, it just made my whole day. That's one memory that like I can go rewatch that anytime. But one memory I love the most, I think, out of teen council was we would go before the school year started. We would do like a sleepaway kind of camp in like a big, huge lodge. And it wasn't just our branch, it was all the branches, because before they were shut down, there was several. There was one from like all the towns outside of ours as well. So like all of these high schoolers would get to hang out, and we would spend 3 days learning and talking about teen council and talk about sex ed and ourselves. And I just remember like during a break time, we were playing cards, and one of us was blowing up like condom balloons, and we were just talking, and it was really special to have just a group of like kids my age who understood me, and we were all so open, because that was definitely like, you had to be open to be a part of teen council. You had to kind of share a little bit of yourself, because we were talking about taboo topics, so we kind of had to bring that side of ourselves forward. And it was open to anybody, like anyone could join, like, And so you just got to meet new people, and it was just a bunch of high schoolers learning about each other and spending time together. And I love that a lot, and I think about that a lot for sure.
That's amazing. And I kind of want to give you one final wrap up question, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So you have now done something like this. Now that you are a little bit older, are there any plans in the future to possibly revisit something like this? Because obviously you were knowledgeable about it. You have a infectious personality, and I mean that in both ways.
Oh my goodness.
But you really seemed very passionate about it, and I know we both commend you for doing it, because I know at 16, 17 saying penis was just a giggle fest. So what does the future hold for you? A spot of possibly maybe revitalizing this type of education, or maybe doing something more social media based? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if I could just do anything, I would 100% go back to teaching sex ed. I loved it, and the students are just so cool, so nice, so down to earth. Particularly at the school I went to, I'd love to go back and teach some health classes. I think that would be really fun, and very important given the times. I think going forward, I would love to maybe do some more social media based outreach, just because everyone's on social media lately. I feel like that's kind of where we're centered at the moment. And I think that's a kind of a great place to kind of get information out there, and inform people. So I would love to do some social media sex education.
So hopefully we will see more of you. Maybe.
Maybe.
So those at Gate Crashers, we're posting this up to you. I think Ellie would really do a great job.
Gate Crashers.
What? Or maybe even more of a subsidiary of Sex and Whiskey. It can be like that little branch of a
100%.
branch of a branch. We won't be your bosses. You can be your own boss.
I'm an ambassador.
Oh yes, that's an even better word.
With my water-filled flask from Sex and Whiskey.
Yeah, water-filled. That's all you need.
That's all you need. You don't need any more than that.
It's official, actually. At that point, when you have the flask, you are an ambassador.
Yeah. So buy a flask or a t-shirt, and you can be an ambassador too.
You are promoting our merch too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's first.
I want to communicate with you forever.
Please.
That's the promo right there. We're not doing anything else. That's the promo.
That's it. Like,
that's
buy our shit.
Yes.
Where to God you buy our shit
it's
right
like,
now?
Are we taking thumbnails for YouTube yet? Because I can just like, what they do? Do they pose? Like
yeah,
that's gonna be a thumbnail now.
You have to do the influencer video. I wake up at 6 a.m. and I start my day with my water out of my flask.
Hi guys, today I'm using get it the camera.
Yeah, you have to do the like blur for makeup video.
Sex and Whiskey flask. Yes.
Yeah. No,
sorry for everyone who had to look up at my face really close up. That was kind of intense. For both of us.
It's great. It was great. Everything flawless.
So thank you, first off, for agreeing to do this. Thank you for also promoting our merch. That was really good.
Anytime.
Yeah, we didn't ask for that at all.
No, that was not.
That was
we
good.
won't. We're definitely. We don't have your account number. We're definitely not going to wire your money or anything like that. That's crazy. Wells Fargo Bank, right? You use Wells Fargo.
My password is. Yeah. My password is Hot Pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was
not. I promise. Don't try it.
I was gonna sneak in there. You know what? No, you please tell that
now
story.
You have to tell the Hot Pocket thing.
Yeah.
This was a before all this.
We discussed this prior. I told you I was gonna sneak it in. Yeah. One of the exercises we did in teen council to kind of desensitize everybody to using words like vulva, penis, ejaculate, masturbate, that we wouldn't giggle. We had to write down kind of as many slang terms for vagina, penis, and I think it was like butt and knee, just kind of any region. And the point was to prove that like there's no slang terms for your knees besides maybe like leg, elbow, something, like that. But for the genitals, there are tons because no one kind of wants to say them. There's kind of this taboo around genitals. And as you can imagine, a group of about 7 high schoolers churned out an incredible amount of slang terms for genitals. And the one that like really took the cake was for vagina, and it was hot pocket. And that just, like, my facilitator left the room for a minute like, over that one. He was not having it. Yeah.
So I'm really want to introduce our new sponsor.
Hot pocket.
Hot pocket. If it's cold in the middle after you microwave it, you're still doing it wrong.
Baby, turn
No.
on the microwave. Gotta heat up that hot pocket.
All right,
my
that's
God.
Okay.
Enough.
So
Go drink more
we're gonna cheers to Ellie right now. Thank you for being
thank
a
you.
wonderful
Cheers.
first guest. We appreciate
Thank you for
being on.
having me. I really appreciate it.
And you might see Ellie back on again. We'll think of a reason why, maybe down
I
the road.
don't think we need a reason. She
No,
can
we
just come
don't.
hang
Just-
out.
Yes. I'll just
Commodore.
throw my 2 cents in and share a story every once in a while. Just sit in
Yes.
the back.
We'll just be like,
That's-
yo, what are you doing? You want to come hang
Yeah,
out?
yeah,
And
just
then it
please.
gets
Drop
recorded
it in.
and
Drop it in.
it's on the internet.
Anytime.
We're not
Yeah.
gonna tell you the topic. You're just
No.
gonna hop right
We're just
in.
gonna be like,
Throw it
completely
in.
blind.
You're like, so shark sex. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I'm
Like,
ready.
let's go. Let's talk
I'm
about it.
somehow already prepared.
Can we talk about? Okay.
It is.
It-
They bite each other. Hold on.
Yeah. That's the
See?
kink episode.
I'll be back for the kink episode to talk
Yeah.
about shark sex.
Thank you very much, Ellie Daniel, for joining us today.
RJ's uncomfortable.
A whole aquarium thing out there. Okay. But for real, thank you for joining us.
Thank
We
you so
appreciate it.
much.
And we will have you back
Thank
on.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Have a wonderful evening. Cheers.
All right. Okay.
Right.
Have a good night, Ellie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. That was
So much fun.
the best for the first guest. It's going to be hard to top. Anyone else who wants to come in the ring here and spread their expertise all over.
There's all sorts of phrasing in there. There are like 3. Hard to top. Okay.
Four. All 4s. Okay, so we're gonna hop into our second flight because we want to kind of. Ellie was our shining star of the first flight with her wonderful knowledge and just a very good storyteller. Very appreciative of that. But now we're going to kind of dive a little deeper into our overarching themes, reproductive health in general, and kind of where things are at in our country right now is terrifying and upsetting. So we want to kind of make sure that you are as knowledgeable as possible of your options. I will take this moment to say that I personally have a story and an anecdote about vasectomy, which is an option for male birth control, but I am holding off. That will be a separate article, which is actually a hybrid article video that will be dropping sometime soon on Gatecrashers that you can watch. It is educational as much as it is fun. Trust me. I will make it lighthearted as possible.
It is
You
a
have-
fantastic story. Like, I know the story. It's
Don't build it up. Don't you dare do
No,
that. Don't you do
it's-
that. It's okay. It's a solid B. It's a solid B.
okay. Well, whatever.
Yeah,
That's a you
okay.
thing. I
That
mean,
is
I'll
a me
hype you
thing.
up. I will always
I
hype you
appreciate
up,
that.
but
I
that's
do
fine.
appreciate
Like,
that.
if you just,
Yeah.
anyway.
Either way, it'll be out soon, and it's just going to cover everything from education to my own personal anecdotes about my surgery, recovery, and kind of figuring out when you are ready to going back to intercourse without any swimmers. So with that said, I think our second flight is going to start with Nikki, because I know we're going to need some drinks.
Yeah. And I was aggressive on my pores today. Yeah. So my second flight is a wild turkey. I think it's rare breed. I didn't tonight. Yeah, rare breed. And I've done the wild turkey rare breed bourbon before, but this is their rye. And I chose this because there was like something written on the bottle that I was like, oh, that's awesome and relevant. And I didn't write that down. So that's part of it, whatever. But I only tried this like stop it. I
I
don't
didn't say anything.
you sighed. That
I
sigh
didn't.
was
I was. It
just
was
all
just like,
right.
ooh.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so I tried this for the first time in the last week, and it's pretty good. It's a rye. I love rye whiskey. That's probably one of my favorites. It's peppery, a lot of lemon, but the thing that like, so my tasting notes when I did it was lemony, cloves, and man, this has some thickness to it that I kind of like. Yeah, but the finish is kind of disappointing. So
Can you
it's all
put that
right.
on?
It's like
Can you put that
$70.
on a bumper sticker or a magnet for me?
Yeah.
The thickness line. That's brilliant. There's a
Okay.
market out there.
There's a
There's a
market.
market. There's a mic right here. There's a
Yeah,
market
there's
right
like right here, like you are the market.
It's,
Just you.
I'm the
That's
market. You
you're the
cornered
only
it.
person.
You got it. You're
Yes.
there.
Anyway, so wild turkey, rare breed rye, and what are you drinking again?
Jim Beam honey.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So I'm drinking Jim Beam honey again. Tasting notes are the same. It's from the same flask. Again, $30. It's a cheap drunk. Cheers.
The world is on fire.
The
Cheers.
world is on fire.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So, all right.
I'm here to
It's-
listen.
I
I'm here
know.
to listen. I'm here to add any sort of medical knowledge I have, but this is going to be a listening with just some light interjections here and there, because this is relevant and important information that needs to get out there. So please take it away.
So at this point, I'm going to focus on surgical options for, contraceptives. And RJ will be sharing more information about, his experience with getting a vasectomy and whatnot. But I'm going to focus on things related to having a uterus and fallopian tubes. And before I start that, I want to clarify some language, and it's real easy for us people to slip into this. But when we're talking about women getting pregnant, we're talking about people who can get pregnant. Remember that you can be non-binary and get pregnant, trans, like, just kind of get it out of your head. Not all women can get pregnant because they may or may not have a uterus. So just when it comes to language, I'm going to say people who can get pregnant. And that's, just want everybody to know that everything that's happening right now, it impacts a wide group of people. So remember that. But I'm going to be talking about tubal ligation at first, which, and I actually brought a prop, which I didn't buy it. This is usually sitting on my couch, but it's like a stuffed animal uterus. Okay. And it is funny because there's a smiley face on it and there's nothing for it to be smiling about. Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know if they'd make as much money with a frowning.
No, I would be more relatable with a frowny face.
Probably, or an angry, like
an angry face, or
yeah.
Like if I could make this ovary throw a finger, that would be great.
What if it's like the front is smiling and then like during certain times it's an angry face?
I don't know. I would just say it's angry all the time at this point. But so a uterus is an organ. It's where babies end up, except not, because it's a fetus. So I want to say this is massive. It's like the size of my head. Your uterus is actually the size of a pear. And you have two fallopian tubes coming off of it, and that is where a tubal ligation happens. So you might have heard of it as getting your tubes tied. And what happens when that is the fallopian tubes are either cut, pieces are removed, and sewn shut. And the purpose of that is so the egg and the sperm cannot meet in those tubes. And if they cannot meet, there's no chance of an embryo happening and implanting in the uterus. And tubal ligation is probably the most popular option for someone who can get pregnant in terms of a surgical contraceptive. The other option is a bilateral, and it is very hard for me to say this word, but bilateral, and maybe you can say it, salpingectomy, but fallopian tube removal. So completely removing the fallopian tubes. That's the other one. That one is a more intense surgery. So most of the time you're going to hear about tubal ligation. It's considered non-reversible. And there is a less than 1 in 100 chance of getting pregnant. It is one of the most effective options out there. And something you might be like, okay, that's still like seems kind of ridiculous if it's supposed to be non-reversible. It does happen. And I will say, if this is something that you're considering, talk to your doctor if you are concerned about that number, but that is a very, very low number. It is less than 1%. So another type of sterilization you may have heard about is the copper coil Assure. And that is no longer on the market in the US because I just kind of want to tell people to, like, you can Google it, but it's just kind of horror stories as a medical implant device.
I still like when I first learned about that, I'm like, someone said to themselves, I'm gonna take a copper coil and I'm gonna shove it right up there, and that's gonna, like, who the fuck, like, I want to go back in time and be like, this is where are you drawing this inspiration from, sir?
I know there's like a documentary about it. I actually know someone who had that copper coil inserted and it migrated. And they've had permanent complications and they got pregnant. Now, I want to say that if you've heard of that, the device is Assure, Essure. It is not in the US anymore. It is not the same as an IUD, but I know there are some people out there who are confused because they might think they're the same. An IUD is an insert, it's an implant, and it is removable. So that's not a form of permanent contraception. So moving from there, actually, I'm going to stop and not move to the next part yet. What I do want to say, sterilization, I've seen a lot of jokes lately that are like, vasectomies for all men, require it. And because people are angry, and that is a form of forced sterilization. And that is not okay to push that idea on anybody, because forced sterilization, there's like a history of eugenics in the United States with it. There's a whole problematic history with forcing people to get sterilized. And so that's fucked up. If you're kind of in this, like, everyone needs to get a vasectomy, really think about what you're saying there. Because there is a history of racism with forced sterilization. So just had to say that. It pisses me off. I also will say, when it comes to tubal ligation, there is in the United States a 30-day waiting period between getting an informed consent form signed. And that's, you have your conversation with your doctor, and then you have to wait 30 days before the procedure can happen. Tubal ligation, as opposed to a vasectomy, you don't have to worry about little swimmers when you have your fallopian tubes tied. So as soon as your body is ready to have sex, there's like no residual, like, oh my gosh, I could get pregnant. Like, that's it. But it does not prevent STIs. So, okay.
There's one thing I do want to interject on tubal ligation and hysterectomies and any sort of surgical impediment for pregnancy in women. There are 3 states that require spousal consent. Hear me out. Because I know that there's a lot more states where doctors will still ask for spousal consent, and then you just have to jump around to a different doctor. But there are actually 3 states where it is part of their medical board that require spousal consent.
So that's, the medical board is different than the legislation and rules surrounding insurance and whether or not it is going to be covered. So that's why I had the reaction, and I was just going to go there. You legally do not need
Correct.
spousal consent
Which is
But
why I made sure to say
doctors,
medical.
yeah, doctors, however, can choose whether or not to perform this on you, and they can make
Correct.
their own rules. But when it comes to reimbursement, especially with Medicaid, so under Medicaid currently, and I say currently because everything's on fire and they're just going to keep
Ever-changing world.
coming for us.
Ever-changing
But
world.
currently under Medicaid and insurance market under the Affordable Care Act, 100% covered, as long as that consent form is in place. So that informed consent form is required, and the 30-day window is also required for insurance, for federal reimbursement, for any sort of insurance reimbursement. I think based on a lot of the research I've done, but it does come down to the fact that like doctors can, and we're seeing this now, doctors can just be like, yeah, no, I'm requiring more, and legally that's not necessary. Your insurance does not need that. Medical boards needing it, it's a little bit different. It has to do with stripping your licensure of being a doctor. It's not illegal, and it's not a legal requirement. So a doctor requiring like spousal support on anything like that, if it comes up that like, oh, they didn't do that, they're not going to be arrested. They might have their license, like a suspension on their license. So
But we can both say it's fucked up.
it's fucked up. It's fucked up. But I have a lot of opinions about what's happening with doctors being cautious about abortion right now based on what the laws are. And we're gonna wait until my next flight for that. I might take a sip of mine.
Licensure, legality, getting arrested, losing your license.
Yeah, I got this NB here is pissed. Like this non-binary bitch wants to fight everybody. I will say, you mentioned hysterectomies, and hysterectomies are never going to be recommended as a form of surgical, like of sterilization. Insurance will not cover them for that specifically. Hysterectomies are also, while tubal ligation is a laparoscopic procedure, meaning you get like 2 little cuts, and sometimes you may not be under general anesthesia depending on what's happening. Depending on your doctor, depending on those conversations. But for a hysterectomy, it is normally, it's not prescribed as like, okay, you want to be sterilized. And honestly, personally, I have a hysterectomy. Like I had like fallopian tubes, cervix, uterus, all yeeted, thrown into the sun. I had a lot of other health problems though. That had nothing to do with me being like, I don't want to have children. And when I went to my doctor, at that point, I had endometriosis for 10 years, and that's a whole other conversation about sexual health. But I had endometriosis for 10 years, and my doctor looked at me and was like, do you want kids? I was like, no. Okay, here are the risks of a hysterectomy. Here's the benefits. And you want to do this? Yes. And so we go through that process. She didn't blink at, I don't even know if she asked about my husband or not. She was just like, do you want to have kids? Great, let's move on. So I've had a hysterectomy, and the reasons had nothing to do with sterilization. And insurance under Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, and as soon as laws about Affordable Care Act are in place, most other insurance companies just kind of fall in line. Makes things easier.
But you just literally pointed out the perfect patient physician interaction.
That was perfect. Yeah, no.
When it comes to, just so everyone knows, that should be the standard.
That's how it should be.
When you have kind of gone through every other step in the book, which is probably what happened, and it came to the point where this is the option. Are you comfortable with this? Do you want to do this? Good. All right, then we're doing it. That's it. That's all it should be. Sorry.
And I will say I've been lucky and with my healthcare providers. And it took a long time, but I've been lucky. However, just for the record, insurance considers it to be the tubal ligation or the removal of fallopian tubes. Those are the 2 things that get covered under sterilization for people with a uterus. So that's what I have on that part of sterilization. I did kind of go on my tiny rant about forced sterilization, and I think I do want to bring up why. Like one of the reasons I'm kind of pissed about that lately. Under a conservatorship, somebody can go to a judge and have it declared that we are going to have someone sterilized. So, and this can happen in some states to people as young as 14 years old, under conservatorship. Like,
Mhm.
and everyone, like, I'm assuming everyone knows about Britney Spears, knows who she is. She's like small pop star. May have heard of her, and everything that she, like, I don't mean to make light of it, but everything that she went through with her own bodily autonomy under a conservatorship is fucked up. And it is still legal under conservatorships for people to control bodies that way because a judge says, oh, they're not legally competent to make that decision. So
She was
that's just
legally not allowed to get pregnant if
right.
I'm
Yeah.
remembering that correctly. Yeah.
And depending on the state that she's in, so, and every state is different. I want to, like, in terms of sterilization, in some states you can be 18, in some states you have to be 21 to get it done. Like, there's some
Mhm.
rules like that. But depending on like what state you're in, yeah, people can force you to have a medical procedure against your will that definitely it's just so fucked up. And I know on the one hand, like, we're having our rights taken away to even be able to say, like, okay, I want to be able to do this with my body. And we need to just be very careful when we get so angry that we're like, everyone should get sterilized. It's like, come on, like, let's look at the bigger picture. There are people's lives who are being controlled, and some of them are in conservatorship. So I know that's like kind of a random tangent. However, when I was like going through my notes, I found that out today.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh fuck. Like,
Here's how long ago do you think was the last forced lobotomy?
oh God, not as long as anybody thinks.
No.
That person's probably still alive.
Yeah, I think I think the last one was within the past 50 years, I want to say.
Yeah. No.
The people listening can probably prove me wrong. It might have been a little further back than that, but I'm pretty positive it's been within the last 50 years. And the idea of there was a weird point, and I think politics has always been involved in the medical community. And I think at some time religion was also involved in the medical community, still is, in certain places. And I think it's just difficult for people to still completely trust a community that allows things like this to still happen. Um, Simply because science has always been the pursuit of knowledge. And I just remember when that was first said to me, it was said by my chem teacher. Uh, she also added the fun little tidbit, but at what cost? Science is the pursuit of knowledge, but at what cost? Um, and myself, I've always been the staunch science supporting person I am, but I will say that we still do very fucked up shit. And I don't think anything is getting better, obviously. Man, what a fucking downer. I'm sorry. This is this
No,
is it's just it and if you do come to our episodes for some sort of light in the tunnel, I think the light in the tunnel is the knowledge here that we're giving you is the power, knowing what your rights are, knowing what you're able to do, is the light. So yeah, go ahead, Nikki. I'm sorry, just had to interject again.
no, you're 100% right. This is not, I feel like here in this space, like, we're all about sex education, and our very first guest ever, I think, is just an excellent example of, like, we can talk about this and make it fun, but sometimes it is real, and there's a balance to be had in that. And so the goal is really to arm people with knowledge so they understand what's happening. And I also know very much that a lot of people just don't, they just hear so much stuff, and it's like, I don't really know what's going on other than the world is on fire. So it's
Mm-hmm.
sort of like, hey, this is what's going on. Here are some of the options out there. But yeah, it's why we drink. But it's also why we do this podcast.
Correct.
We wouldn't do this if we didn't believe. You know, we don't have a mission statement, but we kind of do. So yeah. I think I need another drink.
All right. Okay. So yeah. Well, Nikki just kills that glass, and as we lead into our third flight, which I will open up with, you guessed it, Jim Beam honey.
Oh my God, really?
I do want to say that coming from someone who made a choice in their own surgical impediment of procreation in the future, it was such a nonchalant decision for me, because I had the control from day one. And I think that persons who have the ability to get pregnant don't. And that is tremendously upsetting that we still are at this point in 2022 where from my first appointment to my surgery was a week. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And again, you can hear more about this in the future article. So I will say that we just got to do better. Like there's no two ways about it. We just have to do better. So that's my solid take for this portion is we have to do better. But I will say that Jim Beam is calling my name because I really need a fucking drink. I need a drink. Okay, so I'm gonna pour another shot glass full of this little tasty.
Go ahead and show off the
merch. The merch.
We will have more information about that flask in the future. By the time this comes out, that information might, I don't know. What is time?
Time is a wheel.
It's a flat circle.
Time is a flat circle. I still have some left. So I might have to like.
You're at the very end, yeah. Okay, so for my final.
Oh, so don't drink it now. So wait.
I would just. Can that just be an us moment at the end when I'm crying? Like.
Absolutely. All right.
No, you can finish it now.
Back in there. All right. No,
finish it. Finish it.
No.
Okay.
No. I want to wait.
So my last one of the night is a scotch by Ardbeg called Ardcore. And I don't know if you know the story of this scotch. And there's I should just be like, can you say these words for me in an accent?
Boy, tell it to me.
Oh my God. No, okay, we're not. Anyway, this is a very punk rock scotch. Ardbeg is known for really peaty scotches, and this is totally not. It was just total different direction where they burned the black malt that went into it, and it made it really smoky, and it tastes. It's like burnt cereal. And on the that's what they basically like took it and made it like charcoal, and it's like we're gonna turn it into scotch. And oh gosh, it's a punk rock scotch. It's a fighting scotch. It's when I say like burnt cereal, it's like you get that, but it also has like chocolate and coffee notes to it, so it just doesn't necessarily feel like a scotch, but it is like you also know it's a scotch. I don't know how much this bottle was. I fucking forgot to write it down. I don't even care, but one of my favorite things on this bottle, it says it's like biting on a spiky ball. And that's the kink episode.
I was gonna say there's a kink out there.
Yeah. I know biting on balls is anyway. I'm just gonna drink now.
You wee spiky balls.
Can you not do shenanigans when I have scotch in my mouth?
Absolutely not.
So it's one that's just like, oh man, it feels like you're getting punched in the face. But In the
That's what it
fun,
was.
consensual kink sort of way. I think the
Absolutely.
kink episode is going to be happening soon because we keep referencing it.
That's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I think.
You're gonna
Anyway,
learn a lot about Nikki and RJ in the kink episode.
okay. Now we're moving on to abortion. Jesus.
Uh,
Okay.
do you want me to do an intro to this, or do you want to just take it
Do
away?
your little intro. I'm just gonna sit
Abortion
here. Yes.
is the termination of a pregnancy. An abortion is a personal choice. It always has been, and it always will be. The reason why is because, and that's the reason. So we say to all those out there right now who are seeing their rights stripped away, remind yourself that it is your fucking body. It is your fucking choice. So with that, I'd like Nikki to ring us in.
Oof, Lord. All right. Okay. There are multiple ways I can take this at this point. I think I'm just going to start by kind of defining some terms. And I want to say there's just one of the misconceptions out there. Plan B, that pill, is
Mhm.
not the abortion pill. So just that's not what it is. Plan B is emergency contraceptive that you can get depending on where you are over the counter. Like sometimes it's with the pharmacist, sometimes it's next to the condoms, depends on what state you're in. It is different than the abortion pill. And the abortion pill is a combination of two medications taken within 48 hours of each other. It's RJ, I don't know if you could probably pronounce the name of the
Pause for 1 second. Plan B also, this is a side note important to those. Plan B has a weight limit to it.
yes.
So I want to say it's 150 or 160 on the safe side, air on the 150. That is 150 pounds. So if you are above that weight,
There's another option on the
there is
market.
another option, and the name is blanking on me, and I fucking look this up. But yes, there is another option for those who are above 150 pounds. So that is important to know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and
To
I'm really
the
glad that you said
abortion
that.
medications.
That's a very important point to make, that yes, anytime you're taking a medication, research it, look into it. But right now, especially, if you think you can just go pick up Plan B on the shelf.
Yeah.
Continue
Side note for anyone taking medication, this is just general knowledge from parents to adults. Weight is always the factor, because weight determines how the medication is actually absorbed. Okay. Weight. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. That's my rant.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
important. It's so important. A lot of people don't understand that. Oh man, we could go on a tangent. I'm not going to go there. But the abortion pill requires a prescription. It's two medications taken within 48 hours of each other. One of them, they're both, I think both of the medications are hormones, but one for sure is a hormone blocker that blocks the fetus from developing. And the other one expels. And they're taken not always at the same, they're not taken at the same time. It is 94 to 98% effective when given around the 8-week mark. So when it comes to timing, knowing that you're pregnant, and then getting that medication, timing is really important. And it is given up to 11 weeks. And at that point, after 11 weeks, efficacy is going to go down, or it really starts to go down after 8 weeks.
Correct.
So this is your best sort of, if you can get your hands on it. And that's fucked up. Like, I hate that I'm saying, like, I'm trying not to just turn into like just screaming into a microphone right now. But it is the easier method in some states where you can get it. It can be a telehealth situation. The laws are different in each state. So
Also, when we're talking efficacy too with the abortion pill, when Nikki is saying there is a difference, it is not a gradual, it is a sharp decline in efficacy. We're talking, if memory serves, we're talking mid 90s to second week is like low 70s to like 50%, and even more gradual than that.
So the stats that I have say it goes from 94 to 98% to 92 to 96%, and then kind of steps down each week until week 11.
Then I'm completely wrong, because
it could be there's a previous version of the pill, so of the abortion pill combination that's not used anymore, really.
this is where medical knowledge needs to be updated when you were in nursing school in 2010. You're probably right. No, I'm erring to you on this one, because again, this knowledge is based upon unfortunately women's health was and this is should be taught better.
It should be
better.
taught
Period.
That's a hard stop.
A missed period. We're gonna talk going back 2010 or so. When this was discussed with us, it was a 2-sentence thing about abortions and the role of women's health, and then it was everything else. So obviously it's not pressed as much as it should be, which is kind of maybe how we got into a lot of this mess. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Nikki.
No, I'm well, and I think there is a lot of confusion out there. I mean, there is, like, when I was looking up the active ingredients in the abortion pills, just to get all of my shit together, because that's what I was trying to do. I realized that the abortion pill that I originally learned about, and like what is now prescribed or given, are not the same thing. It's not the same combination of medication that it used to be. It used to be with methotrexate.
Yes.
And
Okay.
but it's now the abortion pill itself is not a methotrexate combination. Methotrexate is used for ectopic pregnancies, though, which we will go to in a bit. But the abortion pill, as it's given now, you would talk to a provider. Like, I say that and I'm just like, fuck, I know y'all, that there are places where there are none. And it just makes me like angry. Like, I just whatever. I just calm down, Nikki. I just want to punch somebody in the face, but I'm not going to, because I'm a non-violent person.
Here, I'm gonna lean my face. Go ahead.
No, I can't do that to you.
Just go. Like,
I'm not going to do that.
Coming across.
Nope, I can't. Okay. Because you're an ally and you listen.
I'm here
to all of it. So, abortion pill, not available for everyone, not appropriate for everyone. And I think what most people think of when they think of abortion is vacuum aspiration, which is sometimes referred to as DNC, which is dilation. And I hate the word
curettage.
Yeah. Like, I cannot say that word, because the word CUR, like, that combination of letters actually makes my brain melt. So, but a DNC, where in that case, the difference would be there's scraping and the tool that is used inside the uterus after they dilate the cervix, which means to relax it, open it up, so they can get the tools inside. That's scraping the inside of the uterus, versus just vacuum aspiration, as sometimes, depending on where you are in the pregnancy, and usually this method is only up to 16 weeks, I believe. It's something is put into your uterus and gentle suction is used. Sometimes they come in and they will scrape as well. So they're technically two different things that are often combined in one process. That general procedure at like less than 16 weeks is a 10-minute procedure. And I'll talk about my personal experience with it in a little bit. What I think happens a lot, though, is everybody thinks, not everybody, assholes, they think everyone is getting the what's known as the DNX, where it's a further, like you're dilating the cervix and extracting the fetus.
Mhm.
And I think that's what people think of, and that's something that happens in the third trimester. And when it does happen, it's because there's something seriously wrong. There's a reason for it. But really, abortions, there's different types depending on where you are in the pregnancy. A DNE is dilation and evacuation, not extraction.
Mhm.
And that is essentially a combination of the vacuum suction. There's some forceps involved and things getting scraped out. So it's
Yeah.
just a more intensive process, because as you go along in the pregnancy, the fetus gets bigger.
Correct.
All of that said, most of the laws that were happening, and this has been going on for a while now, where you have things like the heartbeat bills. A lot of the options out there were just the vacuum aspiration in certain states. Like that's all you might be able to get. So, okay.
I will. Okay. So we're gonna, to those out there listening, who, have this view right now of, late third term abortions or such.
Mhm.
Our Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, had this great speech about talking about third trimester abortions, and we're going to pick on it. First off, it is not something that people aren't walking in and being like, I want a third trimester
Mhm.
abortion. That's not happening. And in the cases of that, and we're talking less than 1% of 1% cases, okay, the complete outliers, there is something happening that obviously it needs to be done, okay? But we're not talking about those cases. We're talking about the cases where something has actually happened. The mother's life is at risk. The fetal is not viable anymore. We're talking about those cases. You have to remember, these people making these decisions at this moment are for the safety of the mother, and more importantly, this is an emotional toll on the person. This is someone who knows the gender of the baby. This is someone who has already got the nursery put together, has, had a baby shower, stuff like that, that might seem inconsequential, but there is a formed attachment, and they still have to make this decision, okay? But they still need to be able to make that decision. And that's the argument. That's always going to be
Mhm.
the argument. And again, going back to what I said, why did they have an abortion? Because that's the reason. Because, okay, so let's just cut that bullshit out right now. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Let's cut that bullshit out right now, because these people in this position, obviously, it is not them voluntarily going and being like, I want this to happen. That is not the case. Okay. Let me hopping off my soapbox now. Okay.
No.
Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I think, I mean, you said two things right there. It's like people, it's traumatic to be in that position where, and I just see this, like you see those protest signs and the examples that they're showing, and I'm like, that's traumatic. They're
Mm-hmm.
people's reasons. And every time, like if you go to like even Planned Parenthood's website and just look up abortions, the article starts with like, here are reasons why people would want to have an abortion. And I really
Yeah.
just wish they would be like, because reasons.
Because.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
And that needs to be reiterated, that it's like really nobody's business. And depending on what has happened in that person's life, like it's going to impact them differently. And the thing is, we should all be trying harder to be more understanding and
Mm-hmm.
not be such assholes. And all I see is just like this hatred towards people who can get pregnant, and then wanting to be controlled. Like, let's control these people who can get pregnant. And we also hate them and think all this other shit about them. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm soapbox is a big thing, but I'm going to shift to ectopic pregnancies, because that is a very important thing to consider. An ectopic pregnancy is basically when, instead of the embryo implanting into the uterus, it happens in the fallopian tube, or just anywhere outside of the uterus in general is part of the definition. Now, your uterus can grow and expand to accommodate a growing fetus. Your fallopian tubes cannot.
Correct.
And if somebody has an ectopic pregnancy, it has to be terminated.
So one more time. It has to be terminated.
That's
it is not
period.
Viable. It is
It's not viable. What'll happen is it'll grow, that fallopian tube will rupture, and the person who is pregnant will bleed out and die.
Correct.
Or
become
infection
septic
will happen.
Correct.
And you'll become septic. As someone who's been septic before, it's really scary. And then a lot of people may not even know they're pregnant yet when they have the ectopic pregnancy, and then they just show up and they're like, I'm having all these weird symptoms, and it's like, shit, time to go. We need to terminate this pregnancy. And the way an ectopic pregnancy is terminated is different than everything like the DNC, DNE, DNX. Like, that's totally different what'll happen, or the abortion pill. I mentioned methotrexate earlier. Methotrexate is used, it's a cancer drug. It is rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, like a lot of autoimmune disorders. It's regularly prescribed to people who have other health conditions. But methotrexate is one way to end the ectopic pregnancy. So that's given. And the other option is emergency surgery to remove the pregnancy.
Now, emergency surgery.
Not
so
waiting
all you
weeks.
out there, okay, I'm gonna walk back. We're gonna talk about sepsis for a second. Okay, so sepsis is basically infection of the bloodstream. Now, what is happening is your body is shutting down. Okay, now when I worked at my hospital ways ago, we had a 24 hours. Seems like a lot of time. It's not. 24 hours is your rule for sepsis. When you have to start hanging vancomycin, ceftriaxone, you have to hang these bad motherfucker antibiotics quickly to get a head start on this thing. So now you're in a position where these states with these women, I'm sorry, that's not true. It's not all women. We're talking about those who can be pregnant. Apologize. Those who are pregnant are going to emergency rooms, and doctors are faced with a decision because they know that the mother's life will then become non-viable if they let this ectopic pregnancy rupture. And there are stats out there, you can read them yourselves. It's not a great outlook when the ectopic pregnancy ruptures. It isn't. And those who do survive, first off, the trauma alone of losing the pregnancy. Secondly, the trauma of possibly an extended stay at a hospital after losing a pregnancy. And finally, and more importantly, and this is something that people kind of don't take in consideration, we have shitty healthcare in this country. We do. These are people who go home, lost a possible child, extended stay at a hospital, and now are facing, I'm not talking 10,000, I'm not talking 50, I'm talking over $100,000 in medical care.
Yeah.
Of which, what's covered? Not a lot. So we are putting a emotional, traumatic, financial burden on these people, not even to talk about the trampling of rights, basic human rights. The decision should be in their hands, and it's not, and it's fucked up. And that's why we're here talking about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's something that we mentioned earlier is just talking about doctors, and you're going to see a lot of stories, and there are so many stories out there that since Roe, the Supreme Court did what the fuck they did, since Roe v. Wade was overturned, and states had trigger laws where old things would go on the books, and all of a sudden you can't get an abortion, and people are scrambling. You're going to hear stories coming out of those states, and you have probably about doctors who are like, I don't know what to do, because on the one hand they could, and this is with ectopic pregnancies, even in Texas, where these statutes, what it is now is it rolled back to a 1975 or 79 law where it defined abortion carefully, and also said, oh, ectopic pregnancies and like anything for the health of the mother, emergencies, that we're not talking about that. We're just talking about elective abortions. There are people in Texas, there are doctors in Texas who are like, we're not quite sure what to do. And when somebody miscarries as well, the procedure to get out any of the remaining tissue to make sure that there isn't an infection, because that
Correct.
can cause sepsis as well, that's a DNC.
Mm-hmm.
So doctors are like, I don't actually know if I can do this. Am I going to get arrested? And then also medical license, weighing all of that. But you also have hospitals. Hospitals are saying, wait, pause. We don't quite know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you look at the law and it's not, it seems like, no, they can do this. You still have doctors and lawyers who are coming in and being like, hold on, can we?
Yeah.
And that's fucked up. That's fucked up. And I have stories about doctors and medical licenses in Texas specifically, and going to jail and all of that. And that's like a personal story that I don't feel like getting into, and it has nothing to do with today. But if you think about that happening in Texas, it's happening everywhere. Everybody has seen probably the Ohio case, where a 10-year-old incest, I believe.
Oh, 100%.
And it had to be flown to Indiana to have an abortion, and nobody believed it. And a lot of people start saying like, that's a hoax. And it's like, no, it wasn't. It was real life. But people want to say this is not real because they can't fucking look outside of their narrow mindset. They're just like, no, this isn't real. It's like, no, this is real life, and it's fucked up, and people are hurting. But you're going to have stories like that. And you're going to hear more and more of that. Now, some states, and I go back to this, a lot of what happened is it's turned into this states' rights thing. And let's talk about states' rights and see historically what that fucking looks like in this country and what that means, and what
states' rights to do what?
To control
states' rights
bodies
to do what?
And define who is yeah. Oh, it's like so hard to not, like, I'm already going off, and I'm like, no, but am I going off yet? Have you really seen Angry Nikki yet? But I will say, like, every state is different. So for example, I'll put it out there. I don't really talk about it. I live in Wisconsin. It is more restrictive here because of a trigger law to get an abortion than it is in Texas. And nobody wants to believe that. Nobody, everyone's like, oh, Wisconsin is a hot fucking mess. But the trigger law that went into effect when Roe v. Wade was overturned is from 1845. 1845. Women didn't have the right to vote.
And there was people who were still property.
And there were people who were still property. And honestly, you fucking drive around Wisconsin, especially in the rural areas, you're going to see Confederate flags. You're going to see this type of mindset. And that's this world that I live in here. And I was raised in Texas. And I'm like, it every state is different.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the type of shit that really pisses me off. There's no exception in Wisconsin for rape and incest right now.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, like what the fuck can you say to that? Like what sort of what what do you say? What do you do?
And I think the hardest time I have with all of this is you want to see the inherent good in people.
Mhm.
You want to think that people are logical. You try and figure that people share similar views to you. And if you can't see past that being bad, like I don't know. George Carlin said that if you just imagine the average person, okay, now you imagine the dumbest person you ever met, okay. Now you take that dumbest person you ever met and think that they're actually probably closer to the average of what a person is. So that means that if we're talking average being 50%, there is still dumber people than that. And then dumber than that, there's still people below that. And these are the people making arguments, because I'm not even talking about certain political pundits, and I'm not talking about certain YouTube people who talk about these hot button issues and use flashy words and stuff like that. When the base of their argument is built on bullshit, and they're just stacking more bullshit on top of bullshit. But I would say to you, have we gotten to the point where we don't know what morality is, and we don't know, like the line isn't there anymore, and you can't see that we shouldn't be asking a 10-year-old who was raped by someone they trusted, someone in their family, to carry that child to term? Are you out of your fucking mind? Are you kidding me?
I mean, we could talk about what pregnancy does to the body of a grown-ass adult. What does it do
Correct.
to a 10-year-old? Like,
And,
what?
and you have to think that this person probably relatively recently had their first menarche, which is the start of their period, which is
Already
basically,
traumatic. Like,
yeah,
it's
well,
just like
it's
your
traumatic
body is
enough.
changing. Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my mind, okay, we're going backwards. We're going to 1998. RJ was a 10-year-old boy. You know what was on my fucking mind at the time? Pokemon. Okay. Legend of Zelda. I shouldn't be worrying, okay, about caring for another human being when I didn't even have a wallet. All right. I didn't even have a wallet. And if I did, it had Velcro. Okay. So let's backtrack here. Okay. Anybody who defends that is an idiot. Okay. I will say it to your face. I will answer DMs about it. You're an idiot. Okay.
It I
Man, this you
yes.
I'm getting
I
angry
never
after.
see you this heated.
I
Like, I
know,
feel
I
like
know, I
RJ
know.
is so used to me being pissed about
Yeah.
something,
I
and has
think
to
it's
hear
just
it
been, it's one of
and
those,
talk.
you caught me on a very long day, and this is I wanted to talk about this, but it's also the last thing I wanted to talk about, because my fear was that I would get heated enough to really just, I try and stay as middle of the road possible when it comes to my emotions, because I never want to be an emotional speaker, um because I try not to let my judgment be clouded by that. But I think this is something that you absolutely let your emotions show how you
I
feel.
I think when Roe v. Wade, when that happened, I remember that day and I think I sent you a message.
You did.
Um,
You
I
sent me
sent you a lot of
you sent me many
messages.
messages.
So many messages went back and forth. And they do. Where I don't know what I said, but I think you came back and you were like, now is the time to be fucking mad. Um, because I'm also, it's like, as a woman,
You asked me to calm you
I'm
down.
yeah.
I
Oh,
knew something was wrong.
I as someone who has called themselves a woman most of their life. And when I get emotional, it's like, oh, a rational, crazy woman. And I'm like, you know what, motherfucker, I'm ready to knock somebody out. And I don't want to feel that way. I don't like feeling that way. I hate that. But that's where I am. That's a natural reaction. And we should stay mad. Like, I don't, this Twitter, the news, everything, it's all just sort of this cycle of anger, and stuff gets forgotten, and this one cannot be forgotten. And if I'm still fucking mad years down the line, like, that means we're failing. We've continued to fail, and that is so fucked up. Also, part of what I was going to do in this last part is I was actually going to give my personal story about an abortion, and because I have had one, I was 19 years old. So Elle was here earlier, and she talked about sex education. And I knew a lot about that when I was 19, and I got pregnant. And I was on Depo-Provera, which is not a medication we need to talk about, but it's a shot. I was going to Planned Parenthood. And when I was having sex, in that moment, I was just like, you need to pull out, because I feel like I just feel like you need to pull out. He didn't. And I got pregnant. My reasons for having an abortion are none of your fucking business. No, I mean, I'll talk to RJ about it, but like, in general, it's nobody's fucking business. I had an abortion, and the thing is, it took weeks and weeks for doctors to figure out what was wrong with me, because I was technically on birth control. They were like, oh, you have acid reflux, because I couldn't keep food down. I was really nauseous. I was also really sensitive, but I already have sensory stuff as it is. So it was sort of dismissed. But it took a while before the free clinic that I went to was like, maybe you should take a pregnancy test. And I went to like Kmart. This was back when Kmart was a thing, at like 11:45 at night with my boyfriend at the time, and like was like, we're gonna buy groceries and a pregnancy test and hope nobody notices. It's like 11:45 in West Texas, like at Kmart. It's hopping, you know.
Beep, bag of chips. Beep, pregnancy test. Yeah. Beep, Mountain Dew.
I took that pregnancy test, and it was positive. I went to Planned Parenthood, and they're like, we don't do abortions. Not every Planned Parenthood does abortions. Most of the abortions in this country are not through Planned Parenthood. And as it's been defunded, you see less and less of the clinics. So just as an FYI. But I was lucky, because I was 19 years old. Nikki is not 19 anymore. I have not been a teenager in a while. And I had no idea what I was navigating, and I was in West Texas, which is just it's a hot mess. But I was able to get an abortion from a specific clinic, and the doctor only showed up every 2 weeks on a Tuesday. So I had that limited period of like, okay, you can get a DNC vacuum aspiration. But my limit, like my window was closing on when I could even do that, because the doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. And I thought my medication thought we were fine, and we weren't. So the only reason like I share that story is to say it is important for people to hear that others have had abortions. Being non-binary and saying I've had an abortion, even if at the time I was like woman, because honestly, at the time, I didn't know what non-binary was. That's really important to hear. So I'm adding that part to it. And especially because somebody recently asked me, and I get more than once, why is this so important to you if you don't have a uterus? If I had that right, and it was so fucking complicated to navigate at the time, and tense, and everything that happened that led up to it, even the night before the abortion, some really fucked up stuff happened surrounding everything. if I had that when I was 19, people should at least have access to that, even if it's complicated. And if it's complicated, there need to be allies out there who will support others who are in need of this service. And this service needs to be available. And it doesn't matter why. It does not matter why. This is about bodily autonomy, and it's about more than abortion. We're talking about abortion. We're talking about sex education today. But this truly is, they don't want a whole lot of us to exist. They want to control their bodies, period. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop talking though, because I'm like heated. Like RJ and I are both mad. And I swear one of these days we're going to get an episode under the
under the allotted time that we actually shoot for.
We've discussed so many times, but
Never.
I think this is a topic that deserves to be aired out.
Agreed.
And needs to be discussed. And sex education is important. And it's part of arming ourselves and the fight that is ongoing. And it's going to continue to be an uphill battle. I wish I could pretend that it's not, but this is where we live. Okay, I said I was going to stop talking. I'm going to add this. Please, if you're still listening, thank you.
Still are.
Take time for your mental health. All of this has fucked me up so hard. RJ knows, my therapist knows, my husband knows, everybody in my life knows. I am hurting, and so many other people are. And it is so okay for you to step back from the intensity of it and just go outside, whatever it is you need to do, and just sort of disconnect so you can not reach burnout, so you can have that moment where you find the strength and you can continue the fight. But if you don't take care of yourself, like, it's so hard to want to keep fighting. So, all right, I'm shutting up now. RJ.
Wow. Did you just drink and weren't we waiting this entire time and you just kicked back?
No, I didn't kick back. There's some left.
Okay.
I mean,
We're good. Yeah. Listen, I can give some great motivational speech here about what what the future holds, but I'd rather just point out something. We are considered adults. You can join the military, buy cigarettes. Actually, that has changed in some states. Buy pornography at 18. You can drink alcohol at 21. You can't rent a fucking car till you're 25. So you're going to tell me that at 10 years old, 15 years away from being able to walk up to a Hertz and say, I want a vehicle, that person is ready to care for another human being? You're out of your fucking mind. Okay. Also, these are the conversations that are most difficult to have. These are also the most important conversations to have. Now is the time to find out where the people in your lives' loyalty is. Because if you surround yourself with people who do not care, who are not involved, they're not worth your time. I'm telling you that now. It's better to be disappointed now than later. So surround yourself with people you love, people you care for, and people who are not fucking morons. And with that, I will cheers to Nikki for fighting the good fight.
Cheers to you for being an ally, and he's listened to so much from me. So
cheers. All right. So thank you for listening to this very intense episode. But luckily you got Ellie Daniel as a wonderful guest. Really great opener as we transitioned into some very heavy stuff, which is the best way to do it. You start in the shallow end and you work your way to the deep end. So let me close by saying thank you for listening. Please go out there, fight for your rights, and then fight for other people's rights too. So for Sex and Whiskey, this has been RJ.
I'm still Nikki. Sorry.
Nope, you do it every time and I love it. All right.
That's what-
Thank you for listening. We will catch you next time. This has been Sex and Whiskey.